Okay. Hi, I'm Liliana, and I'm going to be going over the pros of in-person class learning. So, have you ever wondered what the best way of having classes between online learning and in-person learning? In-class learning gives opportunities to have structured learning environments, accessibility to teachers, as well as other resources, and give you the ability to have social interactions with your peers. First, students can retain information better during in-person classes since being in a room that promotes focus due to not having many outside distractions allows for students to pay attention better. Sparks, in a 2025 article named How to Improve Attention Span in Your Students, wrote that if you pose a question, give individual think time, have them discuss with a partner, then share with the whole class, this breaks up the passive listening and encourages participation. Second, accessibility to a teacher and or other resources to ask questions is very beneficial. You do not have to wait a few days to get a response back. You could ask your teacher a question in class and get an answer almost instantly. If your school offers tutors, then after class, you can go and meet up with them to help get clarification on questions you may have while your brain is already in critical thinking mode. Having access to other resources such as school internet, computers, and books allows access to students who may not be able to afford those resources on their own outside of school. Burns, in a 2025 article, stated students are often overwhelmed by the content and cannot sort out what they are confused about. This makes it hard for them to even form questions. It helps students feel more comfortable to ask questions in person, feeling support from teachers and tutors, which aids in being able to get deeper knowledge on a subject. Third, having face-to-face interactions is important with peers instead of through a screen. That can be straining on mental health. In person, you can see a person's gestures and be able to connect with someone more based off their body language and see their expressions. It also makes learning more enjoyable to work as a team and work on problem-solving skills. Munoz, in a 2021 article titled Mental Health Implications of Virtual Learning on Student Engagement, stated, students also struggle to maintain authentic engagement with their peers and instructors during school days. A Texas Education Agency report found that 11% of the state student population, so more than 600,000 public school students, were disengaged from their classwork and unresponsive to teachers and school outreach. In conclusion, in-person learning can help in retaining information, being able to get answers to questions you have, as well as keep building the social skills. By having all these benefits in person, it makes it easier for a student to take advantage of all the resources available in an instant. Of course, the kind of learning someone does depends on their lifestyle and what works for them. Thank you. Okay. Can't mute.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Liliana. Okay. Sorry. My screen jitted. There we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Sky. I'm going to be going over the cons of online learning. So online college classes have become a popular option, especially after the pandemic shifted the educational landscape. Although online education provides convenience and flexibility, it's not without its own disadvantages or challenges. Online learning can negatively affect students due to a lack of hands-on learning, standardized instruction that fails to support diverse needs or different learning styles, and an increase in distractions that hinder academic performance. Firstly, many subjects require physical interaction, which is difficult or impossible to replicate online. Lab-based or technical courses lose essential in-person components that aid comprehension and skill building. Online simulations can't fully replace real-world practice, especially in fields like nursing. A meta-analysis and trial sequential analysis published in the Journal of Medical Internet Research in 2024 compared virtual simulations against mannequins or real persons in medical and nursing education. It found that while overall there were no significant differences in knowledge or reasoning, among nursing students specifically, virtual simulations were significantly less effective in improving procedural skills, indicating that mannequin or person-based simulation delivered deeper learning outcomes than virtual-only training. Limited access to campus resources like labs, studios, or equipment such as mannequins or real people hinders learning for students in hands-on disciplines. Next, online courses often adopt a one-size-fits-all approach that doesn't serve every student well. Live or unrecorded lectures provide limited opportunities for students to review material at their own place. Just because a class is advertised as online doesn't mean that it's asynchronous. Synchronous classes, you still have a block of time you have to be present, even though it's remotely every single week. And if those lectures aren't recorded and provided afterwards, it limits your ability to review the material. Student to instructor interaction is often minimal, reducing personalized guidance. Students with different learning styles may struggle with the rigid uniform design of many online classes. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Education and Health Promotion surveyed 421 undergraduate medical students specifically using the VARC learning style questionnaire. VARC learning styles are illustrated here. You're either a visual, auditory, reading and writing, or kinesthetic learner. It found that of these 421 medical students, 36.8% identified as kinesthetic learners for their primary preferred learning style, making it the most common out of all four categories and the least likely for you to experience in online classes. Learning from home comes with a range of distractions that reduce focus and productivity. Students often deal with interruptions from family members, roommates, or pets. I personally have two kids and I have to work around their moods, how loud they're going to be if I want to meet with other students virtually, or if I have classes that are synchronous that I still have to log on to. The temptation to multitask, checking your phone, browsing the internet, working on other assignments, etc., is greater at home. A case study at Public University in Romania that was published in 2022 stated that students were twice as likely to say they were distracted by multitasking on online classes versus in face-to-face classes. And without face-to-face structure, online classes may drift off topic or lack engagement. In conclusion, while online learning offers flexibility, it also brings challenges like limited hands-on experience, inflexible teaching methods, and a high potential for distraction. As colleges expand digital education, they must also innovate to overcome these drawbacks and better support student outcomes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Juliana. Today I'm going to be talking about the pros of online learning. With the advancement in technology and changes brought by COVID pandemic, education has been a major transformation today. We'll compare in-person and online learning to see how each and every one students serve. What is in-person learning? The traditional definition is the traditional face-to-face classroom instructions. Example, from K1 to from kindergarten to 12th grade, colleges, hands-on training. And what is online learning? Online learning, the definition is that it occurs virtual or internet or using digital tools, Zoom, class, or learning platform like Canvas or background. The benefits of online in-person learning. In-person learning, you have flexibility, convenience, and scheduling. You sometimes just do things whenever that is convenient for you, or the best time that is okay for you for online learning. Is flexible in scheduling, limited access for the challenges in class in-person learning is continual timing and transportation, less flexibility in scheduling, limited access for remote and disabled students, like health concern, the COVID-19 flu. What it's basically trying to say here is that in-person learning is a good idea for in-person learning, but then you do not have the ability to tell the professor, hey, pause, I gotta use the bathroom, or hey, pause, I have to talk to my kids, or I have to go pick up my child from school, or I have to do some errands. So that's the challenges in about in-person learning. So online learning, you have this ability to pause the lecture and then you go and do some errands to pause whatever that is recording. You have the advantage or the opportunity to record, to re-record and see what was recorded. And you have the opportunity to learn on your own terms whenever that is convenient for you. But the in-person learning, you don't have all of that access. And in-person learning, it is a good thing again because you have hands-on, you in person, you learn better, and most people learn better like hands-on. Me, I like hands-on learning than online learning. Online learning is great, it's perfect because I'm a mother or wife, so I have to cater to family personal needs and I have to, run after my goals. So both both got good benefits. Both of them, online and in-person learning, has a good benefit. The flexibility, schedule, and peace of mind, learn from anywhere, use working adults like caregiver access to webcam or Canvas instructor, and the challenges, like I said earlier, self-motivation. If you're doing online learning, you have to motivate yourself. It's self-motivation, it's discipline, technology issues. You go through all of that. Technology issue, Wi-Fi device giving problem, limited access, interaction, can feel sometimes insulating or sometimes you confuse with app supports because if you are just there working by yourself, it's like you absolutely yourself, you depriving yourself, from not having access to ask the question when you need it to. Sometimes you want to ask this question, you have to send the professor a text message, and sometimes it takes time for them to respond to you. So that's the challenges for online learning. And my conclusion today is that the difference and benefits, they're both methods are valuable, encouraging choosing basic on personal learning or style learning. So needs. So whatever that is convenient for you is based on the person's needs and what is best for them. Thank you. Hopefully I'll make it to 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to talk with you about an issue that affects so many of us, traditional classroom learning. While many of us have memories, good or bad, of sitting in the classroom, it's important to reflect about the system, how it affects today's learners. Let's take an honest, detailed look about the challenges of the traditional classroom and why it may be time for a change. Let's start with flexibility, or more often, the lack of it. Imagine you're a working parent, a full-time employee, or someone balancing multiple responsibilities. Scheduled classes means that you have to carve out time, sometimes in the middle of the day, to be physically present, and there's very little room for adjustments. If your child gets sick or your boss schedules a meeting in the middle of the day, it's very little time to change life. So also travel, let's consider the costs, the gas, money, parking permits, or even wear and tear on your vehicle. That all adds up. Commuting to class also takes time. And this is all pressure time that can be spent with your family, studying, and it's going to push us into probably wanting to drop out or burn out. Also, there's less control with scheduling. This is also a real barrier. In traditional classrooms, students often have to plan their entire week around fixed class times, which may or may not align with the professional or personal lives. If you miss a session due to an unforeseen circumstances, it's difficult to catch up. there's usually very little support to fill in the gaps. So this can usually lead to stress, burnout, or even the need to want to drop out. And this is difficult for the majority of us. Next, let's talk about how traditional classrooms teach, the one size fits all approach. It can create obstacles instead of opportunities. One, lectures are not recorded, which limit review. If you miss a class and didn't fully understand a concept, you cannot go back and review the lecture again. For students that learn best by repetition, like for those of us that may need to pause, rewind, and take notes, it makes it more difficult for us not to be able to do that. Next, professor to student ratios are more challenging. In the packed lecture hall, it's very common to have many students per professor. They're all asking questions during class, and it can be intimidating to try to get the attention of your professor. Outside classroom hours are also limited because they can conflict with your schedule. Also, standardized approaches, they don't always work for all of us. Some of us, we thrive through group discussions. Some of us do better with hands-on learning, and some of us do better with independent studying. This makes it hard for some of us that have learning style needs and that we're different. So we have a hard time capturing the in classroom fitting. When students can learn in ways that better suits us, we tend to, learn better. So finally, let's examine the classroom environment. In the classroom setting, reality can be very different. Classrooms can be filled with distractions, children chatting, the noises from the hallway, all these distractions make it difficult, especially for those of us that suffer from anxiety, just getting easily distracted. So it's hard to focus. And a lot of times, the classroom setting, we tend to go off subject. The teacher is going to go off on another subject, whether it's on another tangent or going over further construction. So that takes away from the actual teaching lecture. So all of these factors together mean that even the most dedicated learners can struggle to pay attention. So while the traditional classroom, while familiar, it doesn't work for all of us. So as the world changes, we need changes that respect the diverse changes in all of our learning capabilities. So here we are now with online classes and in-person settings, which I personally prefer online classes. But thank you.
Learning can take place in a classroom or online, and as my peers stated prior, each approach has its own set of benefits and drawbacks. I'm just going to briefly highlight some of the pros and cons of both in-person and online learning so that you can decide what is the best fit for you. First off, as Rosenda stated in her speech, in-person learning schedules can make it difficult for students to juggle all their commitments. Also, the one-size-fits-all approach can leave some students behind at times, feeling unable to fully grasp the information. Classroom environments also bring distractions that can disrupt focus. Liliana talks us through some points about the benefits of in-person learning, such as consistent and structured learning environments, helping students stay on track, immediate access to resources such as teachers and libraries. Lastly, the encouragement of social interaction with peers, leading to a boost in engagement and social skills. Skyan gives us some insight into the cons of online learning, such as online learning not being able to support some learning styles. Students also have a tough time sometimes avoiding everyday distractions and duties. Peer engagement is also extremely difficult. A good example of that is this essay. During this essay, we found that it was extremely difficult to coordinate schedules, time zones, to be able to get on track and fully immerse in the project. Finally, Juliana explained some of the pros of learning. One benefit being flexibility. Online learning also gives students the ability to self-pace and personalize to a certain extent as long as we're meeting deadlines and things like that. Online learning also cultivates useful digital communication skills, which is an important skill to carry with all the technological advances that the workplaces are heading towards. To wrap up, online learning provides flexibility and skill development, but lacks support for diverse learning skills. Peer engagement is also a drawback that you do not get to experience with online learning. In contrast, in-person learning enhances social interaction and immediate feedback. However, it does not give students some necessary learning support and access to resources that they may need. In recent years, there has also been an increase in a new learning style, which is the hybrid learning style, which includes online learning mixed with classroom hours and labs. A 2025 study by Unity University states that online learning education is unlikely to completely replace in-person learning. However, many experts recommend a mixture of online and in-person learning. Understanding the pros and cons of online versus in-person learning is essential in making educated decisions regarding your education. Thank you.